Good evening, everybody. We're going to begin. My name is Marlene Sincaglia, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Berkeley Heights, New Providence, and Summit, and we welcome you here this evening. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization promoting democracy. Conducting debates like this one is a way we encourage informed and active participation in government. Your participation today helps us carry out our mission. Thank you for coming. We would like to make you aware that there are two state questions on the November 5th, 2013 general election ballot in New Jersey. Question number 1 asks that the Constitution be amended to allow veteran organizations to use money collected from existing games of chance to support their organizations by using the money for operating expenses. Public question number 2 also asks for a constitutional amendment to raise the state minimum wage to $8.25 per hour. As a service to the voting public, the League of Women Voters of New Jersey's Education Fund has prepared an analysis of the questions with reasons to vote either for it or against it. It's a complex issue, and we urge you to take advantage of this resource to acquire the necessary understanding to cast an informed vote. We have copies of these summary sheets available to you at the entrance table. Berkeley Heights also has a local ballot question in which we are asked whether the Township of Berkeley Heights should actively seek the secession from the County of Union and annexation to the County of Morris. We also want you to know that the League of Women Voters of Berkeley Heights, New Providence, and Summit welcomes new members, men and women, who support our mission and would like to participate in nonpartisan educational efforts. More information of programs that we plan on having and membership forms are also available at the entrance table. The League of Women Voters would like to thank Mr. Voorhees, Mr. Stiefel, and the students of the Governor Livingston High School TV production class for taping this candidates forum and making it accessible to the public through GLTV 34 and Verizon 47. At this time, I'd like to introduce our timekeeper, Ruth Borshock, from the League of Women Voters of Berkeley Heights, New Providence, and Summit, our timekeeper, and our moderator for this evening, Michelle Bobrow, from the Maplewood South Orange League of Women Voters. We will be collecting questions throughout the evening for the second portion of the program. So if you have a question, a card written up, just raise it up and somebody will be around to collect it. If you need another index card, just raise your hand and we'll be able to provide you with that as well. And now, Michelle.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Elections and voting are core concerns for the League of Women Voters. We are committed to providing fact-based information about issues and the positions candidates take on those issues to help voters make their own decisions and participate in the electoral process. The League never supports or opposes candidates for office or political parties. Any use of the League name or footage from the debate in candidate materials, literature, or advertising of any kind, including internet, cable, or television, has not been authorized by the League of Women Voters. We conduct voter registration drives, registrations in high schools and colleges, and have efforts to streamline voter registration laws. They are all a continuing part of the League's activities. Other voter service projects, such as providing information on the candidates' positions and an explanation of the ballot questions, are part of every election and distributed through the local and state leagues. Study your sample ballot or mail-in ballot carefully before voting. Throughout our 93-year history, the League has been a voice for sound government practices. If you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I encourage you to pick up some of the League's information outside or on the website at lwvnj.org. I would like to introduce the three candidates for Township Council this evening. They are Edward Delia, Thomas Perrone, and Stephen Yellen. As a courtesy to the candidates, please turn off all cell phones and other electronic devices, and please refrain from taking photographs during the debate. If you hold your applause until the end of the evening, then you will allow the candidates their maximum time to share their views. The candidates have drawn for the order in which they will give an opening statement, 2 minutes each. They will then answer written questions in 1 minute with a 30-second rebuttal, and they will then have a closing statement of 2 minutes for to I urge you, if you're submitting questions, to make sure that the questions are not personal but pertain to the office, and we're ready to begin. The candidate who is drawn first for opening is Mr. Yellen.
Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters and to the high school for sponsoring tonight's debate. My name is Stephen Yellen, and I'm looking to serve you on the Berkeley Heights Township Council beginning on January 1st. I use the term serve and not run because I take the responsibility of being a councilman seriously. To me, being on the council is a way for me to give back to Berkeley Heights, a town I've been born and raised in, went to our public schools, and have been active in our community, both in government and in the community as a whole for the last 6 years. I've gone to township council meetings and improved my budget and government experience by taking classes on budget and local finance and state and local government practices at the elite Blaustein School for Public Policy at Rutgers University, ranked number 3 in the country at present. I've also been active in town, going to council meetings for the last 6 years, as well as the township budget meetings, to understand what goes on in our community and what our council does. Most recently, I was proud of my role as chairman of Stop the BAC Political Action Committee, the organization formed to help urge people to vote no to the Berkeley Aquatic Center's proposal for a 51,000 square foot private facility right next to Emerson Lane in Free Acres, an entirely residential, quiet part of our town. This is a proposal that our mayor, Mr. Perrone, most of his colleagues, and indeed most of the people of Berkeley Heights, over 80% of us, recognized was not in the best interests of our town. Mr. D'Elia, on the other hand, did not. He voted for that proposal each and every time. His suggestion was that more houses would be built there if that was the case. Anyone who has been to Emerson Lane will know that there are houses there already. I believe that when it comes to the issues facing our town, I therefore can bring experience, judgment, and a desire to listen and learn to our community. Communications is my background with a major at Rutgers. It's what I want to put to good use to help improve your access to your town and your leaders. So I look forward to your questions tonight, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Perrone.
Good evening, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Tom Perrone, and I've served on the council for 4 years. Good evening, I'm Tom Perrone. Is it working? Can you hear me now? No? Good evening, I'm Tom Perrone. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I've served as a councilman for 4 years. I've served on the planning board for 4 years. I've served in the Office of Emergency Management for 2 years, and I've served on the Board of Health for 2 years. I understand the inner workings of town government, and I'm going to talk about the issues tonight in that context. Before running for office, I've served as a manager. I've managed budgets, employees, and contracts, and I found that experience invaluable to serve as a councilman. In the 4 years of working as a councilman, the year-on-year budget increases in spending has been the lowest in any 4-year period over the last decade and a half, and yet services have been maintained. The police force is strong. The emergency service dispatch is got state-of-the-art equipment. The shared spaces, the roads, the parks have all been maintained. And for the first time in decades, we've addressed the source of flooding in the town. I've led rewriting the master plan, which concentrated on downtown redevelopment. And for the first time in the last decade and a half, we have 4 projects of redevelopment going on in downtown as we speak. I look forward to serving you for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. D'Elia.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Good evening. I'm Ed D'Elia. I'm running for re-election for my second three-year term on the town council. I've been a resident of Berkeley Heights for over 50 years, my family almost 120. I care deeply about the past, present, and future of Berkeley Heights and its residents. I know I'm not your typical politician. I consider that an asset. I look at every issue from all directions while researching each extensively. The result is what I feel is best for Berkeley Heights and its residents. When I first started on the council 3 years ago, I began walking the streams of Passaic River. I spearheaded the need for the clearing and desnagging of these waterways, which helps mitigate the flooding problem. No one has looked at this issue in over 30 years. I am also the council's liaison to the Environmental Commission and a member. Last year, we attained silver certification for the township from ANJAC. Only 11 communities had achieved this at that point. Because of this status, we get additional funding grants for different projects in town, which saves the taxpayer money. This year, we're working on trying to start a community garden in town. It's another project which is getting a strong reception. My goal on this is zero cost to the township. I've been working to address inefficiencies in several of our departments and to maximize their effectiveness while also minimizing our costs. Some call me a fiscal watchdog. Look, it's our money. I don't want to waste it. I'm looking forward to the next 3 years as your councilman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions from the audience, and the first one, which has many iterations, is regarding the ballot question on secession. What is the logical reason to stay within Union County? Are there unique supports or services? So basically, I'd like your opinion on whether you believe in the secession effort or you think it is not a good idea. So we will go first to Mr. D'Elia, then Mr. Yellen, then Mr. Perrone.
Well, it's obvious doing nothing is going to get us nowhere. Trying to talk to the county is also going to get us nowhere. I think one of their answers was, it's none of our business. The county wastes so much money, it's ridiculous. One of them is the Reynolds Hospital in Berkeley Heights. We lose $20 million a year just on that one issue alone, not counting giving 580 some odd part-time employees, non-union, lifetime benefits for their health care. These are the things that Union County is doing that we are not getting our money's worth. We spend over $15 million to the county, and we get very little in return. We have to try something. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yellen.
I'm very glad that Mr. D'Elia brought up Reynolds
Since in fact the county is now moving to privatize the
services of that hospital, recognizing, as we all do, that it is something they should not be financially maintaining. The reality is that secession does not change our being in Union County. Secession as a concept is a non-starter. Milburn, Livingston, Cedar Grove, and Verona all tried this 8 years ago to leave Essex County and go to Morris. They went nowhere. Towns in Hudson and Camden County have tried to secede from their centers to go to another, more suburban county. They too were blocked by the legislature. The reality is that if any town like ours were allowed to secede, everyone else would do the same. Who wouldn't want to save $1,000 or more in taxes? But then every other town, by leaving, means that we have a bunch of urban counties that will go bankrupt. And guess who has to bail them out? The legislature. And guess which money the legislature is going to use to bail them out? Ours. So if you think our taxes are bad enough in Union County now, and I certainly believe we deserve to get a lot back more from them, do you imagine how much higher they'd go up if this proposal went through?
Thank you. Mr. Perrone?
I don't think what we're looking to do is to get more money back from the county. What we're looking to do is to be part of a county that manages our money properly. Why would we look to go to Somerset or Morris County? Because they do a better job of managing their money than Union County does. When we point out, when the mayors of all the towns in the western part point out all the waste in their budget, they don't react. They say it's none of our business. We should run for Union County freeholder if we want to change that. The reality is we would save between $1,000 and $2,000 a year each on our property tax bill if we moved. But the least that can happen is that the Department of Community Affairs takes a fine-tooth comb to go over their budgets and find things to not approve of. They only listen to the state. They don't listen to the towns.
Does anybody want to rebut?
Do we have 30 seconds to do that?
You have 30 seconds if you want it.
I should note that, like ourselves, Summit and New Providence do pay a lot more than they get back from Union County. However, most recently, when the candidates in those towns were asked about their position on secession, none of them said it was something they would consider pursuing. The reality is, yes, we deserve to get a lot back more from Union County than we do now, but secession doesn't help us do that. I firmly believe that because I am someone of the same party as the county government, I might be in a better position to help fight to bring back more of our tax dollars.
Thank you. In your opinion, is the town making all appropriate efforts at complying with the governor's best practices? If not, what else needs to be done? And the order is Mr. Perrone, Mr. D'Elia, and Mr. Yellen. Mr. Perrone?
We scored high on that this year, and every year we do a little bit more. It takes money to run a website and to post stuff onto it. We're doing the best we can to make government as transparent as possible. I think the only thing we might have missed this year is some recreation meeting minute notes that weren't on the website. But other than that, we've been doing everything we possibly can.
Mr. D'Elia?
I agree with Mr. Perrone, and if we don't make the exact number, I know we made it this year, we will lose funding from the state. And also, I believe in there is the 2% cap, which we've been maintaining, and I think we're doing a good job of it. It's something that Governor Christie has put forward, and it's working good, and it is making every town better. Thank you.
Mr. Yellen?
I was at the council meeting where the best practices issue was brought up, and it was found the town treasurer, Mike Marceau, went through with us as to a number of different areas that we could, in fact, improve on to receive a higher score from the state of New Jersey. Among them was the idea of having mandatory ethics training for our elected officials, something that can be done by taking an online course or by having someone come to us or us going to somewhere for a simple workshop on the subject. I think that's something we as a township can do. Now, that's not a knock on any individual member. I know the town is doing its best to improve in terms of its best practices for the town, and I'd like to help with that. I've been involved in government for the last several years, involved with people working on both the state and the local level. And I think I can put that to good use to help ensure that when there are opportunities for us to stay within the cap and improve the amount of revenue we get in that's not from the taxpayers, if I can help and achieve that, I will definitely look to do so.
Thank you. Okay.
That list changes every year, and stuff's added to it. I mean, it's not like we're not going to do ethics training. It's just new things get put on all the time. We'll address it. It's October. I mean, there's only so many meetings left. It's going to be put on next year.
Regarding the library closing and moving to Little Flower, what do you have any plans for the library employees? Mr. Yellen, Mr. Perrone, and Mr. D'Elia.
Well, I think the library employees do a great job. In a matter of personal disclosure, my mother is one of them, so I might not be the most unbiased person in saying so. But the fact is they do an incredible job with resources that often are limited by budget constraints. I think if given a larger facility at a proposed new town center at the present site of the Little Flower Church on Roosevelt Avenue, I think we'd have a much higher quality library with more room, more places for books and activities for all of our residents, children, seniors, families who want to go bring their kids to events. So I think that's something that is already being done now at the library. I see it pretty much every week. So let's give them more of an opportunity to help improve our quality of life in our community. So to me, that's something that I would be wholeheartedly in favor of if that proposal were to be worthwhile, and that's to have a library as part of that larger site.
Thank you. Mr. Perrone?
Could you just repeat the question?
Regarding the library closing and moving to Little Flower, what plans do you have for the library employees losing their jobs?
I don't think we have any plans as of yet. We would definitely keep the electronic part of the library open while we were in the move, and we don't have any firm plans on what to do with the library staff during the move.
Mr. D'Elia?
Again, we're very early in the stage of the research onto this issue of the whole swap. There are going to be a lot of complications involved. That will be one of them, and I'm sure before we get to any point to where we have to shut the library down, we would have something in place, whether it's a temporary library somewhere, which could be a possibility, and keep a small portion of the library open. I don't know, but you know, all these things will be addressed, and hopefully there'll be many other things that will have to get addressed in the future on this land swap, because it is a very complicated issue. Thank you.
Thank you. What would you do to attract more shoppers and businesses to the downtown? And please be specific. Mr. D'Elia, Mr. Yellen, Mr. Perron.
Well, first of all, the lower our taxes, the lower the rent, which would help attract shoppers, but that's a long hope. There's a limited amount we can do to attract, this thing's terrible, that we can attract businesses, but making a more attractive downtown does help. And when I mean within reason, I would like any developers to do most of the work so the township doesn't have to pay for it. And I think we are slowly progressing to make a better downtown. Each year we address it a little more. This year we have a beautification committee, which is addressing a lot on that issue, which will help attract more downtown businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Yellen?
So I think there are a couple of ideas that we could use to try and help a long-term revitalization of downtown. One of them is a concept I like to call Buy Berkeley Heights. I've seen it in Madison, for example, where residents get a discount for shopping in Madison stores. So this is be part of a long-term goal of getting people to have more willingness and happiness in terms of being able to shop and buy the goods and services you need in Berkeley Heights. So you need to have a long-term plan to encourage people to do that. So if we had a residents' input and get the process going on that, then the way this would work is if we'd give cards out that have that Berkeley Heights, Buy Berkeley Heights logo on it. If a resident showed it then when they were going to shop in Berkeley Heights on a given day during the week, which we might designate for it, as Madison does, then they would get a discount on it. I think we have to make sure local residents have good reason to shop in Berkeley Heights and not take their business and their tax dollars elsewhere. Creating a vibrant downtown, maybe with a business improvement district or working with the Chamber of Commerce as we are already beginning to do, I think that would certainly help in creating a more vibrant downtown.
Thank you. Mr. Perron?
When we look to rewrite the master plan and focus on downtown redevelopment, one of the things that was brought up was that small shops don't do as well as larger shops. So if you'll notice the construction or the redevelopment that's going on in downtown right now, you'll notice that they're combining lots, like where at the corner of Snyder and Springfield, they've combined two lots and they're going to put up one business there. The same thing is happening where there was a chain of stores down further where there's now going to be a preschool, again, combining lots and putting them together. The way to attract businesses is through allowing them to combine properties and through redevelopment. That's the way to increase shopping downtown or increase the robustness of our downtown. It's just small businesses with very, very small storefronts can't make a go of it in a suburban town, and that's what we're doing.
So I agree with Tom on that, and I would also add that we have a lot of landlords who have some vacant stores within their properties. Now, no landlord really wants to have a vacant shop because they pay taxes anyway. So it's their interest as well to have more businesses in our downtown. I certainly agree with Tom, combining properties is a good thing to do, but I think getting a resident input in a formal way as to what we're trying to do would also help a great deal.
Just one more issue. These past 2 years, the town council has had meetings in the mornings, a breakfast at Town Hall with the Suburban Chamber of Commerce. And we've got a lot of input from that, and it's a really good back and forth discussion on things, and I think that's helped a lot too.
Yeah, just recently, we just had our Board of Health ran a seminar for all the businesses in town that have kitchens or restaurants, and we shared a lot of information, and it was very good for the residents as well.
Thank you. Totally different subject. What is your position on the Berkeley Aquatic Center referendum? How did you vote and why? Mr. Perone, Mr. D'Elia, and Mr. Yellen.
I think that issue is pretty much dead at this point. We believe that there are going to be single-family homes developed on that site, and what else is there to say about it? I voted against it. I want to preserve the wastewater sewage treatment capacity for our residents and our businesses in town, as opposed to giving it to businesses that are from outside the town. It's, yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
Since this campaign started, Mr. Yellen has attacked me in every way, shape, or form, and the last in the newspaper, about my support of the BAC. I voted yes on it, and I will try and set the record straight. First of all, it is in the past. I don't know why it has to be brought up so much. Second, when we voted on it, it was to be on the sewer capacity, not on zoning, not on traffic issues. It was supposed to be on the capacity of the sewer system, and that's what I voted on. Our own engineers said we had capacity. Second, the issue of the chlorine getting in the sewer system was a complete lie. It would not harm our sewer plant one bit. As soon as the chlorine goes in the sewer system, it disappears. So I don't know why that was turned into an issue on that, and that's what people were so worried about. And it would have gave us tax dollars, which would have benefited the town. So I did vote yes.
Mr. Yellen, had you been voting, how would you vote?
So I think I have to be clear here that I was not on the council, but I was very active on the vote no side, and agreeing with Tom and agreeing with the mayor and others on this. I find it unfortunate that Mr. D'Elia would call Tom and the mayor and others liars on an issue of such importance to the town. It was, after all, a decision that they felt was the right call for the town. For my part, I believed it was something that was not in the best interest of Berkeley Heights. I don't live in that area, but I took a very active role in helping to lead the effort against it. So I'm proud of that. And Mr. D'Elia keeps asking, why am I bringing this up? Well, it's his record. He voted for this 3 times, twice on the council, and again in publicly urging people to vote for it 4 days before the vote. To me, that's an incumbent's record. If you've used that as a personal attack, I suggest you find another occupation. The reality is that when you vote for something that is not in the best interest of our town, that most other people in town would tell you was not in the best interest of our town, you can't run away from that record. It's part of what you did, and you have to be held to account to it. And that's all I've said about it.
And can I
Next question.
No, wait, excuse me, I have to defend myself.
Please do.
I was not calling Mr. Perone a liar. I was saying that it was a complete lie about the chlorine getting in the sewer system. I don't think Mr. Perone ever said a word, or anyone else on the council. And it is my record, I stand behind it, and we could be losing a great business in town if they move out of town because of this. Even though it would have been in Warren, we would have gotten all the benefits of it being in Berkeley Heights. Now that's gone. Something else will be built there.
How would you improve communications between the township and the residents? Mr. Yellen, Mr. Perone, and Mr. D'Elia.
Before I answer that, let me just point out that, in fact, most of the public statements, if you look back on the record from the council and the mayor, did explicitly explain that the chlorine issue was a major reason for them to vote no. That being said, communications is something that we as residents, is something I think I really can help with in helping the council be more engaged with our community. A number of things that come to mind is that right now the rec department has an email list that they send a newsletter out to. My thought would be to make it a wider volunteer email list and have township news and information and updates go out to the public so that people know what's going on in our town. In addition, I would like to hold a monthly, what I guess I would call an open house session, on a weekend afternoon when more people would be able to come to it than, say, at a council meeting on Tuesday nights. And that way, people could offer their opinion, find out what's going on, and we can get a better idea of what we should be doing as a township. I think that's something that isn't a knock against the current governing body. It's simply something we can do better. And I think it's something the mayor and Mr. Perrone and my colleagues, if I were to join them, would be happy to work on.
Mr. Perrone?
I find it funny that you're on the Communications Committee, or you were, and the people that I talked to said that your participation wasn't that active. As far as communicating with the residents are concerned, we have town council meetings. They're open to the public. The public always comes to voice their opinion when we're doing something wrong. You know it as a councilman that you've done something wrong when you fill the whole auditorium at a town council meeting. Attendance is typically low because we're doing the right things. We haven't filled the town hall at a council meeting in a long time. Stephen has said, oh, people don't know what we're spending our money on. People in town know exactly what we're spending our money on. We are repairing the roads, as you can see in Park Avenue. We have a sewer treatment plant, as everybody's been made aware of because of the BAC thing. We have a police force. Everybody knows what is being spent on at the town. What they don't know is where their county dollars are going, and that's why secession is on the ballot for
Mr. D'Elia?
Again, I agree with Mr. Perrone on all of that. We do have a website that people can communicate through that. That's been in 3 years plus, I believe. So it was just right before we got on. We do get people to talk 2 times at meetings, at the beginning and at the end, so they have plenty of time to talk. I get to try and be around town as much as possible since I work in town all day. I get to talk to the residents, and I get a lot of input through just knowing people and running into people. I think we're doing a good job of communicating with the residents.
For the record, the reason why I was not on the Communications Committee for very long is because I stepped down from it to be a candidate for council 2 years ago. So that is why, Tom, I was not active on it, because I was no longer on it. I think that I can tell you that when I go door to door in our town and when I've held events, most people don't even know who's on the council. So to me, that indicates that if we want to know what residents are doing, we're not doing a good enough job of finding out. It's not a matter of what we are spending our dollars on by itself. It's simply a basic, we're here, let me get your input, let me get your ideas on their terms. We get paid to hold the meetings. They don't get paid to go to ours.
Anyone else? Mr. Perrone, the questioner believes it was you who was quoted in the Independent Press as saying that the proposed traffic light at the point where Lone Pine, we have to have penmanship in the schools. Where Lone Pine Drive meets Springfield Avenue would be a win-win situation. Please elaborate on what you feel is a win-win. So Mr. Perrone first, of course, and then Mr. D'Elia and Mr. Yellen.
So the question was about what's a win-win with the traffic light?
Yes.
Okay. There's many businesses that will only create or build a new building where there is a traffic light, where there is an intersection. We'll get a new CVS at one of the 4 corners of where that new traffic light is. It will also increase the amount of traffic or business going to the businesses on all 4 corners of that traffic light. Where the Krausers used to be, we're looking to attract a new business to that area, and more businesses will want to move there because there is a traffic light. Traffic lights will be timed so that the traffic can flow along Springfield Avenue in an orderly fashion. Also, it'll allow a lot of the trucks to get in and out of Lone Pine Drive, and will allow, as businesses move into Lone Pine Drive, it will allow those businesses access to Springfield Avenue.
Mr. D'Elia?
I'm sure other people know I opposed the traffic light. I felt it would do harm to the downtown. We have a lot of traffic already. The traffic light at Snyder was so close that any traffic going in and out of the Grand Union or Shop and Stop parking area and where CVS would go could have easily gone to that light. I feel it would harm the Exxon station, and I feel it's going to harm all the traffic going through town. I wish it didn't have to go in. I made my decision. I stand behind it.
Mr. Yellen.
I stand with Mr. Perrone on this one, as well as the rest of the colleagues on the council. This is something that was needed to go in order to have the CVS replace the abandoned Pizza Hut that was there, and as part of a longer-term plan for improving our downtown traffic, as Tom pointed out. So, inasmuch as we have a light that at this point, it's been green lighted, no pun intended, and it is going through, then it is something that will be part of the long-term improvement of our downtown to make it not only more easier to navigate, but also to help improve our quality of life and have a more attractive, vibrant downtown in the process. I don't know anyone who would say we'd rather have a vacant Pizza Hut as opposed to an active business bringing revenue and higher quality of life to the town. And I want to also point out about the gas station Mr. D'Elia mentioned, they actually were fine with the final proposal, which is why it finally went through. That was brought up at the council meeting, that the gas station owners were happy with the proposal as it was finally done. So in this case, they obviously didn't think their business would be destroyed by having the light there.
We will see in time.
Next question. Please discuss transparency of local government and taping of city council meetings. Mr. D'Elia, Mr. Yellen, and Mr. Perrone.
Can you just repeat transparency and what was the second part?
Taping of the city council meeting, town council meetings.
I believe we are working on, I believe next year we will be not just taping, but broadcasting, not live, but have a very professional system put in place where our council meetings will be shown to the public on a regular basis, something we've always done on a, what I would call a primitive scale of just having a basic tape recorder to videotape them. And next year it will be taken care of by the Communications Committee. On the transparency, I'm sure there's always room for improvement, but if anyone's critical of what gets discussed in the back room, it's always a necessary item. I've been on both sides, in the audience and in the back room. And after being on both sides, I can say that it's always done professionally and it's needed when we're in the back room talking.
Mr. Yellen?
I, among others, I'm sure will be very glad to have the TV airings of the council meetings come back. But I think we also know that since we have a good township website now, that it might be worth looking into whether we can also have it streamed online, so that if people who, let's face it, many people don't watch our local TV channel. Otherwise, you know, we'd have probably more people aware of what's going on. To me, I think a lot of people do use the internet, and if they knew that they could watch the meetings online, they would probably do that as well. A lot more people use the internet than obviously more and more over the last several years. So to me, that's something that I think we could do as a town to help improve the transparency, to use that term, of the council. I do think the council, by and large, does its duty in terms of not violating the law, in terms of telling people openly and what's going on. I think they can do a much better job of that outside the meetings, and that's where I think we can have room for improvement.
And Mr. Perrone.
With regard to transparency, we have an open sunshine law in New Jersey, so everything has to be done out in public view. There can be no discussions unless it's at a meeting that's been noticed, and we follow those rules. As far as putting our stuff online, the Communications Committee will be doing that in 2014, and I think we're pretty transparent. Thank you.
Thank you. What would you do to maintain our number 6 best place to live in the United States? Mr. Yellen, Mr. Perrone, and Mr. D'Elia.
Well, I'm sure I was one of many who were both surprised and somewhat amused that we were ranked number 6 in the country by Money Magazine. It's a great feeling. At the same time, our ranking in New Jersey Monthly fell from 7th to 84th. So, you know, ratings come, ratings go. As to improving our quality of life in general, a couple of things that I'd like to see done is to give our DPW the resource it needs to speed up the process of repairing our roads. Yes, Park Avenue is fully paved, and that's great, but there are a lot more roads on the to-do list, and I think residents would like to have safer roads that also improve their property values. In addition, and I know the council has talked about bringing bulk pickup back for next year. That is something I fully support. It is something that is a valued service of the town that they did not get this year, and I understand, respect the reasons why we did it, but I think a much better effort could have been made to let residents know in advance what was going on. So I think as a whole, in those areas and in terms of improving our communication to residents, we can help ensure that that Berkeley Heights maintains and deserves being the 6th best small town in America.
Mr. Perone?
Yeah, I bought my house in Berkeley Heights because I was looking for a good suburban neighborhood. I was looking at what the taxes were, and I didn't move to Essex County for that reason. I looked at some place that would look like it could weather the storm, and we have. If you look at the value of properties in Berkeley Heights, they haven't dropped as much as they have in most other towns east of us. We have a vibrant community. We have scouting events. We have parks. We have recreation. We have a senior club, and we have good schools. And we're revitalizing our downtown. Those are the types of things that keep the town a great place to live. And my part of it is to try and keep your taxes down and make sure that the downtown stays vibrant. Thank you.
Mr. D'Elia?
Well, first of all, I have to say that our current council, we work together, and that's one of the main things that keeps the town, or try to keep it at number 6, or I'm sure the numbers are going to go up and down, but that has made Berkeley Heights a great place to live. We work together, and that's, whether we all may agree or disagree on any particular issue, it's always civil, and everybody listens to each other's ideas. Everybody comes up with unique ideas, and I think it works as a very good group together. That's part of what makes Berkeley Heights a good place to live. And on the DPW equipment, I have been working directly on that issue, because I am a big proponent, as I've said before, equipment is more important than just vehicles. So I have been working to make sure that on our capital plan, we get the right equipment more that's needed, not just a few new vehicles that aren't as necessary.
Assuming that secession does not pan out, what actions would you take to get the county taxes under control? Mr. D'Elia, Mr. Yellen, and Mr. Perone.
Well, I like to be optimistic and hope that it would be successful, so we don't have to answer this question. If not, I'm hoping that at least the thought of this and hopefully we will get a large popular vote on it, and maybe that will wake up some people in the county that say, maybe we do have to do a better job. But we have to try something. Hopefully it will work. Being sweet to them and talking to them, I don't think is going to get us anywhere, since we've tried that. Summit has also, and I believe New Providence has. So maybe putting their feet to the fire a little bit might help. It can't hurt.
Mr. Yellen?
So when, as I do believe very strongly, when we are not even given a vote by the legislature and go the same way of those who have tried secession before us, I am perfectly willing to go to Elizabeth when they have their freeholder meetings and speak to them there in person. Now, it's different than when you have the people in Summit and New Providence go to them, because they're Republicans, and let's admit it. In politics, usually people are more responsive to listening to someone from their own group than someone who isn't. Just like in any part of any social network, if you know someone and like someone, you're more likely to listen to them than if you don't. Now, I am someone who, being of the same party and knowing a lot of these same people, I think I can do a good job of reestablishing that dialogue between the county and the township. I think it's something we need to do. Certainly, what we're doing now is not helping our residents. Secession, I do not believe with absolute sincerity, will not help our residents. What can help is if we do the long, patient work of rebuilding our ties to the county. We've had them before. We have a massive, Snyder Park was a county township operation. We have worked with the county before. The wife of the county manager was our town administrator, appointed by a Republican body. So we can do this again to help benefit the taxpayers and our quality of life.
Mr. Perone.
Yeah, Berkeley Heights administrator at one point was the county manager's wife. So there's no amount, we can't even get any closer than that. We're not going to get the county to drop our taxes. If they're not going to listen to a Democrat mayor from Summit, the past Democratic mayor from Summit, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to lower our taxes. It's not going to happen. The best that we can hope for is that Governor Christie's Department of Community Affairs Local Finance Board goes over their budgets and doesn't approve them unless they cut something. That's the only thing that's going to be able to happen.
If Mr. Yellen is right, and I believe he may be on this, that people in the county may side more with their own party, that just shows that we have a problem. Because I am a Republican, Mr. Perone is Republican, but when we were up on the dais and being councilmen, we don't look at party, we look at the residents. And I don't look at one resident ever and say, he's not in my party, so I'm not gonna work for him. I would hope that the county freeholders should look the same way and say, party doesn't matter.
Well, in fact, the county has, in prior years, not, in fact, based their decisions on party matters. It's why we've had Snyder Park come to Berkeley Heights. It's why we've had a lot of grants and shared service opportunities between Union County and Berkeley Heights. The reality is they are willing to work with us as they've been in the past. 3 years ago, we had a giant ribbon cutting at Snyder Park. The freeholders were there, our elected officials were there. It was a great moment for cooperation between us. I think it'd be actually a lot easier than Mr. Perone and Mr. D'Elia think to be able to renew those bonds. I think electing me to the council would be a good way to help jumpstart that reconciliation.
I have a rebuttal. Just because we're trying to secede doesn't mean we're not still cooperating. We're working right now with Union County representatives to work on getting state money to clean up the Passaic River. The money that we got for the park was just the money that we had put into the Open Space Trust Fund coming back to us. And it wasn't because, you know, we had bad ties or we have bad ties now or have good ties then. All that's going to happen, okay, I got the stop sign.
Which brings up another subject regarding shared services. What shared services do you think would be most appropriate for you to pursue in the next term? Mr. Perone, Mr. D'Elia, and Mr. Yellen.
I think we're already pursuing all the shared services that we can get. I mean, if you look at shared services, we do shared services for animal control, we do share services for the Board of Health, inspectors, but shared services aren't always the answer. We looked at a tri-town shared services for our dispatch for emergency services, and we found out that it was going to be $100,000 a year more in operating costs to join that. So we didn't. Instead, we upgraded our own equipment in town. We look at shared services. We have over the past 3 years, and I don't think there are any other shared services at this point that we should be pursuing.
Mr. Perone brings up an excellent point on the shared services with the dispatch. We did spend $25,000 each town had to put $25,000 in to research that issue. People might think it was money poorly spent. I think it was money well spent because we looked at it, we got as many figures as we could, and by the time then we looked at our options with ourselves and with Union County to do the dispatch. After looking at all three options, it turned out that what was the cheapest and best for Berkeley Heights was keeping their dispatch in our own department, which is much cheaper than if we had gone with the shared services, and Summit and Providence still aren't. I don't even know if they're anywhere even near a working dispatch center yet. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I feel we absolutely made the right move on that, and by researching, looking at all options, and doing our due diligence and working together as a council.
This may appear shocking, but I agree with both Tom and Ed right now. The reality is that, yes, we do the best we can with getting more shared services. If more opportunities came up that were for the benefit of our town, we should do that. I should note that with some degree of irony, that Mr. Perrone just talked about having us work with shared service agreements and to get more funding from Union County. But it begs the question, if we're so determined to leave Union County, why are we asking them for more money at the same time? You would think that if we were telling someone we want nothing to do with you, we wouldn't at the same time be asking for a handout. To me, though, that's part of what we should be doing as a town, is working within our reality to help bring back the most bang for our buck for our residents. To me, shared services are a part of that when applicable. Working with the county when possible is applicable. Making sure that when we have opportunities to benefit our residents long-term, such as the Passaic River cleanup, then that is something that we should also be doing. So this is part of a long-term effort that I'd be happy to join the council in as one of 6 to help improve our quality of life and keep taxes down.
I want to rebut when you talk about shared services and you talk about us possibly leaving, I mean, when you think about it, a county is the ultimate shared service, and Morris County would just be a better bang for the buck than staying in Union County.
The township has voted to settle its tax appeals with businesses and residents in the last 3 years. Should the township have done this? If so, why? And if not, why not? Mr. Yellen, Mr. Perrone, Mr. D'Elia.
This is something that has occurred 15 times in the last 3 years. Basically, the town doesn't have a legal leg to stand on when these appeals are filed. That's why they settled it. I agree completely with the mayor, with Tom, and with his colleagues up there, that this was something that you just don't have an option to. If we'd appealed it in court, we would have lost, incurred a lot more in taxpayer dollars to help pay for the legal costs, and at the same time, possibly paid more in settlements later on. Now, I said everyone up there agreed with that, but that's not the case with Mr. D'Elia. He's voted no to every single tax appeal. And that's something that, as in fact Mr. Perrone pointed out at the television debate we had a week and a half ago, would have been gambling with our tax dollars and would have jeopardized the long-term financial health of the town. That's why he voted for it, because there wasn't any other real option. So had I been on the council instead of Mr. D'Elia, I would have voted with Tom, with the mayor, with others up there, to do what was the only common sense, realistic option you could make.
Mr. Perrone?
Each tax appeal situation is unique. Each one stands on its own. I have, in my first year, was on the other side of the tax appeal issue. As a council, in 2007, we voted to appeal to fight an appeal. And we fought it successfully for a long time. But we did that as a group, and over the last 3 years, in dealing with our tax assessor and other outside agencies, we've felt that the settling was the best option. So we always pick each one individually and look at all of its merits before deciding on how to move forward with it.
To the two incumbents.
Hold it, wait.
Mr. D'Elia hasn't answered.
I didn't get to it yet.
Sorry.
That's okay. Well, first of all, yes, I have voted no on all tax appeals because I feel it's harmful to the rest of the residents who don't appeal. I don't want to be paying somebody else's taxes, and I'm sure no one else here wants to be paying somebody else's either. I feel it's a harmful situation to everybody. Just at this last meeting, $184,000 per year we're losing on one corporation. And how do we know we're going to lose every appeal? I believe I don't know if I could even say this, but I believe there's one corporation we are actually appealing their appeal. I don't know. I vaguely remember this was a year or two ago. I can't be 100% sure, but I thought that there was something that we discussed. But maybe I shouldn't say any more on that one. But it doesn't mean we're going to lose everyone. And I think it harms the rest of the residents. All property values have gone up and down in a generally equal amount.
I think that whether there's 100% certainty or 99.9% certainty, we rely on our experts. We rely on our attorneys to give us the input, as Tom said, on a case-by-case basis. Can we really have a hope of winning this case or not? And if not, we'd better settle. So this isn't a case of my saying Ed should have done something differently, just me saying that. Everyone else on there would agree that we did the right thing to do, and Ed did not. If people's taxes are going to go up because other people are getting a tax break, imagine how much more they go up when we lose those cases in court. That money from paying for lawyers has to go from somewhere too.
I stand up for what I feel is right.
To the incumbents, what has been your most significant contribution to the council in the last term? Mr. D'Elia and Mr. Perone and Mr. Yellen, you can have a little shot at it for what you'd like to do.
Is it over the past 3 years, did you say?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the main one is that I got involved with clearing the Passaic River and the streams. That's something that hadn't been addressed in 30 years, and we're making good progress. It is going slow, but sorry we had to take the money from Cleanup Week, but it was necessary. We will be addressing that more in the future on finishing the project on the streams. And again, this year we're hoping to get a good chunk of that $3 million grant from the state to start clearing the Passaic River, which is in desperate need. The other issue that I feel like I've been doing really good on, and with the rest of the council, is we're looking at each department, looking for inefficiencies, looking for ways to make things better, finding problems that have never been addressed in all the years. And just because something works a certain way doesn't mean we can't make it better or that it was wrong. I believe, and Mr. Perone might be able to touch on this, a problem with the police overtime.
Mr. Perone?
If I had to pick one thing that had the most impact on the residents of Berkeley Heights, all the residents, that is the budget. That is their taxes. For the 4 years that I've served, the year-on-year spending increases have been the lowest for any 4-year period over the last decade and a half. That's it.
Sure.
So I want to say, first of all, that I can name 2 other things I'd like to compliment both my opponents on. In terms of implementing zero-based budgeting, that was something that is a great thing for helping control spending, so I applaud them on that. And I also know that both of them have given time to volunteer in our community, and I salute them for that as well. Now, as individuals, there are 6 people on the council, and we all can bring different strengths and different perspectives to what we can do for the residents. My background is different than Mr. Perone or Mr. D'Elia. It's in terms of communications and public relations. So I think I can help do a much better job in helping the council reach out to residents, get resident feedback, and help ensure that when information comes around, like we're not going to be giving bulk pickup service this year, that people find out about it rather than putting their stuff out there for a week and hasn't been taken. To me, I think that that is a contribution I can meaningfully make. What we do as a whole, addressing the budget, helping to keep taxes low, increases low as possible, this is all stuff that we as a group will do, and I'd be happy to join those initiatives if elected.
I have a rebuttal for that. So when I said that the biggest accomplishment was keeping our taxes low, you have to add to that means making the tough choices. That means deciding that we have residents who are in pain because their basements have filled up with water, because the fire department had to come and cut the power to their basement where the electrical panel goes in because their basement was filling up with water. We had to make that choice to not spend the money on bulk pickup for 1 year so we could solve that problem. You have to have people who are willing to make the tough choices.
Just to finish Mr. Perone's words, when we took the money from the bulk pickup, it was specific that it was going to only be for 1 year. Never once did the council or anyone on the council say this was going to be forever. And it was, I don't want to say threatened, but it was brought up for 2 to 3 years in advance. This may be the last year for bulk pickup. This may be the last year for bulk pickup. And this year we had to put it on hold. I believe it was the right move, and we've got a lot done with that money. And it will be coming back.
So I'm not sure how you can say on the one hand, we gave residents clear warning, and on the other hand, for years, and the other hand, we made it clear it was only going to be for this year. But in addition, my argument about it has not been that we shouldn't have done the stream cleanup. We absolutely should have. My objection was in the process of how it got communicated or not communicated well to our residents. I don't criticize the policy we've taken. I criticize the means in which the decision was implemented.
It is now time for closing statements, and the candidates will have 2 minutes to give them, and they're in reverse of the opening order. So we will start with Mr. D'Elia, then Mr. Perone, and Mr. Yellen.
I would like to thank the residents for electing me for the past 3-year term. I am now asking you again to re-elect me for 3 more years, which I am confident I will be able to complete my current projects. I feel I have brought a unique and beneficial insight to the council and the residents. I will continue to work with Tom Perone and the rest of the council on the continuing process of the town, including but not limited to all unnecessary spending. The federal, state, and county governments waste enough of your money. We don't need to waste any in the township. As a small business owner in town, I understand the concerns and issues of our commercial owners in town. As a taxpaying resident, I understand your issues and problems. On the township budget, my goal is not to stay below the 2% cap, but to achieve 0 or negative increase in your taxes. I've been fiscally responsible and proven it through my actions over these past 3 years. As a councilman, we still have a lot to accomplish, but we constantly are making progress to have Berkeley Heights as the best place to live. Money Magazine has voted it number 6 best small town in USA. This didn't occur by accident. It occurred by the efforts of Tom, myself, and the current council. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to all of us, and please vote for Ed D'Elia and Tom Perone on November 5th. Thank you.
Mr. Perone?
I've served the residents of Berkeley Heights for 4 years on the council. I have a track record of siding with the residents, protecting their property values. One way I did that was we rewrote a zoning ordinance that would prevent builders from decreasing the buildable space on adjoining lots that they don't own. My first day in office in my second term, I pushed for adding additional parking spaces for commuting at the train station. We've added 35 paved spots downtown. It means other things that I've done. I've stopped the expansion of exit 43 of Interstate 78, which would have taken away most of the front lawns from the people on Diamond Hill Road. I organized the residents opposing a state bill that would have taken away powers from local elected school boards and given them to county-appointed superintendents. I've enacted a program in Berkeley Heights, a state program, in which volunteer firemen and rescue squad personnel can get community college tuition assistance for themselves and their families. Ed and I have, along with the rest of the council, have set our fiscal house in order. We have a 6-year rolling capital plan where we keep our expenses even across the long term. If you want to keep Berkeley Heights being a wonderful place to live, as pointed out by Money Magazine and New Jersey Monthly, return Ed and I to the council. I look for your vote on November 5th. Thank you for tuning in this evening.
And Mr. Yellen?
I think we as residents have a clear choice tonight as to what direction we can go in to help move our community forward, to make Berkeley Heights an even better place to live for all our residents. The choice is you have 2 people up here who have made good common sense decisions most of the time. That's Mr. Perone and myself. You have a choice of 2 people who did the right thing on the Berkeley Aquatic Center. That would be Mr. Perone and myself. You have a choice with 2 people who have in fact done the common sense thing and not have us frivolously waste taxpayer dollars in lawsuits in court. That would be Mr. Perone and myself. But more than all this, if we believe as a township that we ought to have elected officials who go out and listen and learn from us on an active basis, if we believe we ought to have more proactive effort to ensure that we get more of our fair share of tax dollars back from Union County, if we believe that we ought to have a council that will make sure that our roads get paved at a quicker speed than they are now, not because our DPW workers don't work hard, but because they don't have enough resources. if we believe that our township ought to do more to encourage residents to give their input to help produce a better downtown, and if we believe that we as a community can help improve the quality of life for all of our residents, then I ask for your support. I'm happy to work with the mayor and the council to move Berkeley Heights forward. I think I can do a better job of serving on the council than Mr. D'Elia, and that's why I'm running. You have a clear choice on November 5th. Look, Tom's probably going to win no matter what. He has both candidates praising him. The choice really is between a candidate like myself, who has a record of standing up for our residents when it mattered most, and a candidate like Mr. D'Elia, who's turned his back on us on so many important issues that matter to our community. Think about what Berkeley Heights would be like if he had his way. You would have had the Berkeley Aquatic Center facility right next to a 25-mile-an-hour residential part of town, the same project we overwhelmingly rejected. If he had his way, we would have filed 15 tax appeals in court and lost every single one of them. The fact of the matter is that we can do better than Mr. D'Elia. I think there's a clear choice on November 5th. If you want leadership that will listen and learn from you to help move our community forward, then I, Stephen Yellen, ask for your support to serve you on the next 3 years on the Township Council. I hope to make you proud.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Show our appreciation. And to the League of Women Voters for arranging this evening. For the general election, this is the very last day to have your mail ballot application received by the county clerk by mail, but if you want to do it in person, you could go to the county clerk by 3 o'clock on Monday, November 4th. Don't forget to vote on November 5th. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. As the League of Women Voters says, bring a friend to vote. Go to the League website or to the table in the back of the room to find out about the 2 state ballot questions, and please contact your local League of Women Voters for further information. Thank you very much.